Now, from New York City to the world, it's Dominic Carter.
And joining me live right now is someone that is a legend in terms of local media, and the guy knows what he's talking about. And I don't say that lightly. I've been following his work for years, and he is the real deal. And that is journalist and talk show host Steve Adubato. And Steve is an Emmy award-winning anchor for programs airing on public broadcasting. He is also the author of the book Lessons in Leadership 2.0, The Tough Stuff. And Steve just recently celebrated his 30th anniversary of One-on-One with Steve Adubato. Steve, it's so nice to chat with you.
Dominic, it's an honor to be with you and your great WABC audience. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to everyone at the team over there and to your audience who's loyal and discerning in their listening habits.
And Merry Christmas to you and your family. I think it's your daughter that's in college. I see what you post on, but you also have a son in college right now, don't you?
We have two in college, and then we have one 14-year-old. Our two sons are in college. Our daughter is a freshman in high school. And I would just say this, Dominic, and you know this as a family man, because I've seen some of your very meaningful, impactful family Facebook posts. I don't care how well you think you're doing in business or in media or making money, doing whatever, winning awards, blah, blah, blah. If your family's not okay and your kids aren't okay, nothing's okay.
And you are correct. Isn't one of them at Syracuse? Why does Syracuse stand out?
Well, see, you're good. He's at Syracuse right now as a junior. And let's just say Syracuse is a challenging place. He's done well there. And let's just also say this. One of the reasons that I'm not going to be retiring anytime soon, Dominic Carter, is because it ain't cheap. And the other one's at Fordham.
Oh, no.
It ain't cheap. So you got
the other one's where now?
Fordham University, right uptown in the Bronx.
Right, Fordham University. So I'm going to get to the issues at hand, Steve Adubato, but I want you to listen to one of your New Jersey officials, Chris Smith, drafting legislation to allow state and local police to shoot down drones since he says the feds are refusing to act.
As many of you know, state and local law enforcement is precluded by law from taking more decisive action, which is why DOD must. They are the ones who have the ability and the authority to act. Congress, yes, and the president, yes, need to move quickly to expand state and local authorities, powers. But DOD has it right now. Sheriff Golden wrote me a few days ago requesting legislation to empower the state police to seriously protect at-risk persons and infrastructure, and if necessary, bring down a dangerous drone or drones. I am now drafting that bill and will soon introduce it. I want to thank him for that idea.
And so, Steve, you're the go-to guy for all things New Jersey and New York, the tri-state region. What do you make of this drone situation?
First of all, I respect Congressman Smith. He's been a long-time member of Congress. I think he's the longest-serving member in the New Jersey congressional delegation. But here's the deal. I mean, from my point of view, I'm a student of leadership. I coach it, teach it, write it. I'm obsessed by effective communication. The government at the federal level and, in turn, the state level have blown this big time. Because, Dominic, I respect and understand that the CIA has to keep secrets because they're in dealing with foreign countries and have to protect us, and we can't know everything, and they can't be too transparent. But here's the deal. This, if it is not a foreign enemy, if it is not someone who is looking to do harm to us, the federal government, this wasn't a secret you're supposed to keep. Because when you keep a secret like this and you don't disclose and you're not transparent, people's imagination runs away with them. And listen, I am not an advocate of people trying to blow these drones, right out of the sky, because God knows what happens, Dominic Carter, when they come down to earth and who's there and what's there and what could be hurt. But I'll tell you this, when the government fails, people ask themselves, what do we need to do to protect themselves? And I don't blame them because the government has blown this big time.
No doubt about it. And I really can understand and sympathize exactly what you're stating and saying, Steve Adubato. Let's look at the big picture here and let me move on. So you're celebrating your 30th anniversary. I'll come back to that, of your show. But we all know, everybody within the sound of our voices right now, that Democrats are in complete disarray and need to find a way to start connecting, if you will, to average working Americans. How do they do that?
First of all, let me also say, in our 30th anniversary special on One every night on PBS, Dominic Carter is featured, as is Curtis Lewa. Let me just put that out there, and the great Frank Morano. I just need to get that out there.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well deserved. But I'm going to say this. The Democrats have lost touch big time. Too many Democrats that are leading the party right now think they have all the answers, and as long as you get Beyonce to perform and Bruce Springsteen, and I'm a Springsteen fan, then the average person is going to relate to you. There are people who love Springsteen who voted for Donald Trump, and I'm no fan of Donald Trump. I'm concerned about his leadership style, but I'll say this. The Democrats handed this election to Donald Trump. First of all, I was talking about honesty and transparency. The fact that they allowed President Biden to go out there for as long as he did and look the way he did in that debate, they deserve what happened to them, and the rest of the country's paying the price, because the president never should have run for re-election. He wasn't prepared to do it, and if Kamala Harris wanted the nomination, compete like everybody else and win the nomination. So they were behind the eight ball. Beyond that, average working class New Jerseyans, other folks, do not relate to the far, and I'm not a big fan of the word woke, Dominic, but I'll tell you this. The issues that many left-wing Democrats have focused on are not the bread and butter issues that average Americans care about. And I come from a Democratic background. I served in the legislature back in the day as a Democrat. But I'll say this. It's not the Democratic Party that my father brought us into as kids and what we believed as kids growing up. It's a different party. And for many, the party has left them. They have not left the party.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Steve, because the first thing that comes to mind, and we are chatting right now with Steve Adubato, and it's wonderful to have Steve with us, journalist, talk show host. You know, I'm thinking about AOC, right? And I don't necessarily want to pick on her right now, this very second, but there's talk that she could be the future of the party as the nominee. And I'm like, do you folks want to keep losing for the rest of your life? What do you make of AOC possibly being the Democratic nominee?
Oh, first of all, she's looking to get a very important seat as the ranking Democratic member on the Oversight Committee, as I understand it. And let me just say this. I respect that as a very young person, she's accomplished so much. She got elected to Congress, I believe, at 29 years of age. Good for her. Here's the catch. Once it is put out there that when there was a defund the police movement that had real juice and steam in it, she was on board. She has been on board on the most extreme, way out of the mainstream points of view and advocating it. And frankly, she may be fine in her district, Dominic Carter, but I got to tell you this. If she is the spokesperson and the leader of the Democratic Party nationally on any level, unless she dramatically changes her positions and frankly becomes more mainstream, she can be a left-leaning Democrat bordering on whatever else. That's her right. But to be the leader of the party, that is turning the elections over to Republicans who right now, and again, no fan of Donald Trump's, they are relating way more to the average American than AOC. She doesn't seem to get it, even though she's from New York. I'm not feeling it, Dominic.
Well, I'm not either, Steve Adubato. Now, you say that Donald Trump, while you're not a fan, that he has the president-elect, he has the opportunity to make real progress. So what exactly do you mean by that?
Big time. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay.
First,
okay, so no, it's okay. So what exactly do you mean by that?
Okay, I'll tell you. One of the biggest issues I've had with Donald Trump, and I give him credit for connecting. I'm a student of communication. He is a very effective communicator in public. He connects with his audience on a visceral, emotional level. And thank God he survived the horrific assassination attempt. But I'll say this. His rhetoric at times, for me, Dominic, and we've known each other a long time, yes. I'm big on civility. I'm big on decorum, and I don't mean being PC. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the name-calling, the mocking of people because of their appearance, their size, their gender, their this, their that, you're a loser. None of that helps because the reality is he has an incredible opportunity, Dominic, and to your audience, most of whom voted for him. Let's root for Donald Trump to bring people together as best he can, to put the best people in the right positions to make a difference, to reform this absurd federal government that fails at so many things, and stop the sideshow, stop the clown car, stop all the name-calling and the extreme positions that most people did not vote for him to do those things. They voted for him to try to bring down inflation, bring down costs, deal with the crazy, horrific situation at the border, and the things that people care about. It's not these other sideshow issues. And the truth is, last thing on this, Dominic, I don't actually believe he believes in a lot of those things. I believe they were things he said to appeal to his base, but it's not the things you do as a leader of the entire country, including nearly half of the country who didn't vote for you. I hope and pray that he's the leader that I think he could be if he chose to be that kind of leader, because he has a mandate.
No doubt about it. Mr. Trump has a mandate, and it seems like things are off. And Congress, yeah, let's not leave that out. You're correct, Steve. So in wrapping this up, and I do want to ask you about your anniversary, but in wrapping this up, the New Jersey governor's race coming up next year, why is it, or is it a potential bellwether for where the nation is?
It absolutely is. New Jersey and Virginia are the only two states that have gubernatorial, statewide, obvious elections in the year after the presidential. How President Trump leads, the impact of his presidency will have a significant impact on New Jersey. New Jersey's always been seen as a blue state. Well, it ain't as blue as people think. And number one, Donald Trump did better, and Kamala Harris did not do as well as most people thought and the polls said. Second, I actually ran into one of the candidates at a party the other night, Jack Ciattarelli, a Republican, moderate, solid guy. I like him a lot. Let me say this. If a moderate, reasonable Republican were the candidate, and Donald Trump has a strong first 6 to 8 months as president, the Republicans have a chance to win this governorship. It's an uphill fight. The Democrats have a lot of strong candidates, but I'm going to say this. If that nominee is too far left, if that nominee is way out of the mainstream, if that nominee is more like AOC and less like a mainstream Democrat, then the Democrats could be in trouble.
Wow. So you see another Chris Christie on the horizon in New Jersey, possibly, potentially.
Well, put it this way. Chris Christie, whether people like him or don't, and he's a friend, and we've known each other a long time. We've had a lot of battles on the air, but always friendly off. Here's the deal. Chris Christie won the African-American vote. Chris Christie won the Hispanic vote. Chris Christie did well in urban communities. If that kind of Republican runs again and does those things, and the Democrats keep going with the same old, this state will no longer be called blue. It'll be called another color that I can't think of right now.
Wow. So, Steve, let me close this way, and then I'm going to get back to my calls with the public. And Curtis Lewa, a man you just mentioned, he's about to join us.
Curtis.
But so how does it feel, man? You just celebrated your 30th anniversary of One-on-One with Steve Adubato.
You know what that means? I'm just old. That's all it means. It means I survived in the media business, the media wars, and to my brothers and sisters in public broadcasting at WNET in New York, our president, Neil Shapiro, to our New Jersey PBS station, NJPBS, and all the other systems that carry us. It's a blessing to have those outlets, and you know that with the WABC audience, but also to have the funders, the sponsors. 90% of my business is business, meaning going on the air and interviewing people. That's the fun part. The hard part is running a production company, bringing in the sponsors, keeping them, and doing business. But that's what it is these days. As you see, Star Ledger, I grew up at the Star Ledger. It is not going to be here on February 2nd. I wrote a column there for 15 years, not going to be there anymore. Newspapers, dying. Talk radio, big. Internet, big. Public broadcasting, just trying to stay in the game.
Well, Steve, congratulations on your 30th anniversary, and thank you for joining us, folks. We've been chatting live with journalist, talk show host Steve Adubato, Emmy Award-winning anchor for programs airing on public broadcasting, the author of the book Lessons in Leadership 2.0, The Tough Stuff. Steve, thank you very much.
My pleasure, Dominic. To you, WABC audience, to John and Chad and the rest of the folks on the air. I wish you a blessed Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, everyone. Take care.